My biggest tip for people trying to lose weight is to accept the fact that it's a food addiction. It's an addiction. That's what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with like not knowing enough, of having the right strategy or the right, external management stuff. It's not that. It's about the internal management stuff. It's about accepting the fact that it's the psychological mechanisms of addiction that it need to be dealt with, and then you'll start to have success. Hi, I'm Jeff, and I lost 30 kilos 20 years ago. And in 10 seconds, I'm going to give you some hypnotic ideas to help you do the same, to lose weight and keep it off for good. Consciously, you already know what not to eat and to move more. The problem is that subconsciously you resist doing it. When you take care of the inner game, the outer game takes care of itself.
Is it possible to fully recover from a food addiction, or is it something that people have to manage for life?
Recovering from a food addiction, no one can. We're all addicted to food forever. We're absolutely and completely dependent on food. So it has to be managed, Something like smoking or drinking or drugs is something you can just stop, you stop doing, and then you haven't done it for the last 20 years. It's like, well, it's pretty well done, You could pick it up again, but you're not being tempted by it every day. It's not in your life. It hasn't been in your life for so long. It feels like a someone else's life when you look back on it. But with food, that's never the case. I'm always eating, always having new temptations with food. No matter how committed and healthy my lifestyle is, if you're eating too much, you're treating yourself too much for too long, you get hooked. It doesn't matter how long I've been doing it. Doesn't matter if I've been 20 or 30 years, I've been eating absolutely perfectly and training well and doing that. If you start doing it again, you start doing it too much, too often, you get hooked. So again, that's the problem with food, is that you're like I said, you're always close to it. And this is the other thing too, I guess, is that in regards to alcohol, I do think you can take on the mindset and the identity of I'm done with it. It's absolutely over for me. I would never do that sort of thing. Once you take on that identity, that's so powerful. On the other hand, with food, you are addicted. You'll always be addicted because you're always dependent. Because we are always dependent. If we stop eating, then we're gonna have problems. So we are always dependent on it. It's an addiction that has to be managed forever. It is something that's with you all the time, because we will forever be dependent on food. And you're always just a little too many treats too often away from constant nagging cravings that cause you to overeat and then have health problems and not be happy with yourself.
So just in quick short summary, biggest tip for someone with a food addiction?
My biggest tip for people trying to lose weight is to accept the fact that it's a food addiction. It's an addiction. That's what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with like a problem of not knowing enough, of having the right strategy or the right, external management stuff. It's not that. It's about the internal management stuff. It's about accepting the fact that it's the psychological mechanisms of addiction that it need to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with like that. And then you'll start to have success. The issue is people so fixated on the external stuff rather than the internal stuff. It's harder to track, though. That's why people love the little metrics. I've lost this much weight, I've done this. I've got all the little numbers to tell me how wonderful I'm doing. But that still doesn't change the fact where you're in someone's internal experience necessarily. Sometimes they do, but they make you feel a bit good for a little bit. But that's not addressing the long-term issue of the fact that we are all food addicts, and we need to manage that. We are always susceptible to sliding down the slippery slope of addiction, of problematic expression of our food addiction, right? We are all addicts. We're all dependent. There are positive expressions of that addiction, and there are negative ones. But it can easily turn negative. When you're in an emotional time, you're feeling hormonal. You're feeling down on yourself. You're going through a hard time in life. You can easily switch into a negative expression of that. Addiction can always turn bad. The addiction is always there. But it's either it's either in a positive place or a negative place. So addictions aren't always bad. People can be addicted to exercise, then good for you. Like, and you're obsessed with it, you like it, you feel weird when you don't do it, you feel almost you're emotionally dependent on moving weight, moving your body. It's good for you. There's nothing wrong with that. But there can be a negative expression of that too. You're injured and you need to rest and you just won't. That's a bad expression of it. Addiction itself isn't bad, it's the expression of it that's bad. That can be bad or good.
That's a really good sum up.
So if you want to learn how to think when you can't stop eating, click here.